On behalf of the students and staff at Forest High School and the Engineering and Manufacturing Institute of Technology, I'd like to thank Motorola, Duke Energy, the Public Education Foundation, and James Couillard for your continued support of STEM education. Vision 2040, A Global Perspective, is a thematic learning activity in which students focused on global warming and what needs to be done about global warming and what they can do as young people as far as going into STEM fields and solving problems that many of us are not really aware of. Vision 2040 began with the story that the year is 2040. The ambient temperature has risen 4 degrees. We've lost 400 feet of horizontal coastline. And there's also a stress nexus on our food, on our energy, on our water, and all of those things that are vital for us as humans to function here on Earth. Each team was given this task and $500 million to solve this problem. They were required to have a residential, a commercial, an industrial, and as well as an entertainment area within their location. Phase 1 began with the understanding of the problem. Assignment of locations. Each team was given a budget of $500 million and a population density to deal with. 6 engineers were brought in who were experts in their fields of solar energy, smart grid technology, renewable energy, alternative transportation, nuclear energy, and emerging technologies. When exploring new concepts for the Global Vision 2040, it was important to complete intense research on the assigned geographical locations using authoritative sources. All teams researched the following areas: location, climatology, geography, and topography. We used a series of essential questions as guardrails to the completion of the project. These questions help keep teams focused on reaching their goals of research, design, development, building, marketing, budgeting, and the presentation process. Phase 2 began with planning for implementation of information discovered in Phase 1. During this phase, teams met to consider their population, facts and findings of their research, hypotheticals, theories, and assumptions that were uncovered. Designs began to take shape in the early part of this phase. Midway through this phase, a landscape architect was brought in for 4 days to critique the initial designs before teams moved forward. This was critical and very valuable to the project. Teams presented their initial ideas and made changes following suggestions of the expert. This phase also addressed the stress nexus, as well as alternative energy sources, new yet unheard of technologies and energy sources, as well as community themes and the use of current resources. Scale values were developed based on the land area, and the population density was considered in the design. Teams needed to pay special attention to the elevations and their effect on buildings surrounding them. Teams were also given non-exhaustive lists to consider for their population centers, which would somewhat guide them in their design process. Allocation of space, budget, and responsibilities were done during this phase. Alternative fuels and smart grid engineers were also brought in during this phase to ensure that students were abreast of the latest technology and get ideas on how to improve or create future technologies. This phase began with a focus on marketing and the team's expo booth to present their new community redevelopment. Additional essential questions were given for Phase 3 concerning predictions for the future, physical and sociological characteristics of their area. Students had a variety of materials at their disposal for representations of their models, topography maps, and marketing schemes. The morning of presentations, each team set up their presentation booth for judging and voting. Students from the school, administrators, engineers, and the faculty evaluated each team's booth as they sold their community. Everyone rotated from booth to booth, asking questions, determining what the community was about, what the green sources of energy were in the community, and what they liked most about the community. After the rotation, each person voted on the community they liked most, or the community they would most like to move to. Team presentations were a minimum of 15 minutes in which each team gave a detailed view of what was inside of their structure, as well as the constructed models they displayed as they presented them. All engineers returned to jury the presentation and the final project based on a rubric. After each presentation, there was a Q&A of the team by the audience and the jury of engineers. This allowed the team to also give more details as to what was inside, why they chose the different forms of renewable energy based on what was available in their areas, or about new technology they developed. The questions from the engineers were insightful and allowed teams to show how much they had researched the project, as well as new ideas that blossomed.
There we go, alternative energy sources, that's what I was looking for. So we live in Florida. Our nickname is the Sunshine State, so I think it would be silly not to utilize all the sunshine that we get year-round. So our commercial building over there, the circular one over there, is going to actually have solar panels on the roof because we get a lot of sun. So it doesn't make sense not to utilize that sun. The building would be built north to south. That way there's no sunlight coming into the windows all day long, which would increase heating and cooling costs. So in that orientation, we can simultaneously decrease costs and increase power generation. Now, on the flip side, this building utilizes hydroelectric power. The rain runs down the slide and comes through the turbines. So now we've covered the sunny times of the summer, and we've covered the rainy times of the summer. So with all of these new improvements in technology, we should be able to almost cover a large portion of our electricity. Maybe not all of it, but if we can store electricity during the abundant months, during the summer, and then trickle that back out during the winter, we can almost get ourselves off the grid.
All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Gabe Lefebvre. We're Team 13. We're located in Parkland, Washington. It's about 16.5 miles southwest of Seattle, to give you an idea where it is, 7.5 miles south of Tacoma. One of our big ideas is we want to become a tri-city with these three cities. We found that when cities congregate and they become younger, they also become more environmentally friendly and green. Our biggest focus in Parkland is going to be turning it into a green community. That's why we have our eco-friendly roofs with the aquaponics. We have our hydroelectric turbines that are powered by the water that's coming down from the immense amount of rainfall that we have. And we also have things like eco-friendly bikes, which will be explained later.
All right, within the community, we were tasked to find an eco-efficient way to do so. And what we are working on here, or what we're planning to do here, is a turbine system that we're going to put on top of our buildings. As Gabe said, we do get a lot of rainfall in Parkland, Washington. We get about 43 inches annually. So that's quite a bit of rainfall. So what we decided to do is on the tops of our building, we have a central shaft, and what happens is as it rains, it accumulates, and when it senses that there's enough to turn the turbine, because if you just let one drop on the turbine, it's not going to move it. But once it senses that it's enough, it lets the water fall into the central shaft, spinning the turbines, and generating some energy in that way. If you can look at, over here we have some tiers, and if you look at this model here, you can see that it's almost like a pyramid type shape. As you can see, there's a lot of green on the tiers, and that's our green roof system. And not only helps us insulate, keep it cool in the summers and warm in the winters, but it also provides shade. So if you walk into a room, it's not extremely bright, it's not overwhelming. And those are situated to the outside. If you look at our topography over there, all the tiers are situated to the outside. So no matter where the sun's coming from, you're going to have shade for the most part.
Okay, I'll start by telling you a little bit about our industry. Our main industry is going to be energy production. We're going to do this through the use of a fusion reactor, which will generate a massive amount of electricity. To store this electricity, we're going to use a device called a flywheel, which is a large, heavy, spinning disc that stores energy in the kinetic motion of the disc. This is an alternative to batteries, which use chemical energy, and it allows for modern college where we supply technical and more advanced education to people of all ages.
This is our project right here, guys. This ATV, it doesn't run completely off of hydrogen energy. It's more of hydrogen assisting the gas. Your MPG goes way up because of that. The solar panels, basically, like today, we brought out the batteries for dead. It's up and running now. The sun helped recharge both the batteries. Right now, we're pulling about 12.5 volts. These solar panels, they feed the batteries as a starter. So that way it powers the generator right here, and if your battery's dead like it was this morning, it helps recharge it.
I don't want to drive. I'd love to see you guys drive, and I'd love to get some pictures.
I'll pass on the driving.
It's all me. All right.
So thank you again, Motorola, the Public Education Foundation, Duke Energy, and James Couliard.